The movie starts with a boy named Ishan looking at some creatures in the water. He catches those creatures and puts them in his water bottle. Suddenly, his school bus helper appears angrily and takes Ishan as the school bus awaits him. After the school bus drops Ishan home, he calls two dogs named Sheru and Johnny. While playing with the dogs, he throws some school reports toward them, and the dogs shred those papers. Then the boy enters home, quickly puts the fish he collected into the aquarium on top of the refrigerator. After a snack, Ishan goes to his room and starts working on a puzzle. Soon, his brother Yohain arrives and proudly tells their mother he got the highest grade in every subject. The woman beams with pride and asks Ishan about his report card. Ishan leaves the room and goes outside to watch his neighbors play. During the game, the boys lose the ball and ask Ishan to fetch it. He gets up and retrieves the ball, but when he throws it back, it lands on the other side of the wall. Ranjit, a neighbor, shouts and orders him to get it back. Startled, Ishan freezes. Ranjit, much larger, chases after him, and the two end up in a scuffle. They roll on the ground as Ranjit slams Ishan's head down and grabs his neck, trying to twist his arm in defense. Ishan bites him, forcing Ranjit to release him. Ishan then runs to the terrace, where he starts to cry, but soon gets distracted, playing with a kite he finds. Later, when he returns home, he sees Ranjit and his mother complaining to his parents. They accuse Ishan of starting the fight. When his father sees him, he slaps him across the face. At that moment, the neighbor makes up more lies, claiming Ishan even tore his shirt during the fight. Furious at the false accusations, Ishan attacks him, and his parents have to separate them. After Ranjit and his mother leave, Ishan's father, Nan Keshore, tells him he brings nothing but trouble to the family. Every day, they get a new complaint about him from school or the neighbors. Then his father warns that if there are any more complaints, he'll send Ishan to boarding school. After the lecture, Ishan's mother kneels in front of him, tending to his wounds. She knows Ranjit is a troublemaker and asks her son to avoid him. The next morning, Ishan faces another day of school. In the first class, his teacher, Irene, asks him to read a sentence from the English book and point out the adjectives. But Ishan struggles to follow her instructions due to his learning difficulties. Ishan's teacher, thinking he's just uninterested, kicks him out of class. Afterward, he goes back to his classroom. A classmate asks if he did his math homework and if his parents signed his report card. Since Ishan didn't finish his homework or show his grades to his parents, he knows he'll be scolded again. So he decides to take his things and leave. While everyone else is in class, Ishan walks through the streets of his small town in India. During his walk, he discovers new places and learns about professions he never knew existed. To him, this stroll feels much more valuable than a day at school, as he learns things by observing people's daily lives, something he misses out on in class. After school, he returns, waits on the bus with his classmates, and heads home as if nothing happened. That afternoon, his mother helps him with his homework, but feels disappointed to see he hasn't made any progress. She can't understand why he still misspells words, even though they practice every day. She worries her son might repeat the third grade and fall behind his friends. At night, Ishan wakes his brother, telling him he missed class that day, and asks him to write a note explaining his absence. Initially, Yohain refuses to forge the note, but eventually gives in to Ishan's insistence. The next day, the teacher reads the note, which says Ishan was sick and missed the previous class. Then, she announces a surprise math test. While the other students work, Ishan daydreams. He imagines himself as a space pilot on a mission to move Earth, the third planet, to Pluto's position as the ninth planet. In his mind, Pluto is destroyed while Earth remains safe, and he concludes that 3 times 9 is equal to 3. The next morning at breakfast, his father finds the forged note Yohain wrote and asks his wife, Maya, if she wrote it. Maya says no. Ishan realizes he's in trouble after a harsh scolding. His parents take him to the board of directors to clear up the misunderstanding. There, they learn that Ishan hasn't been doing his assignments or homework. His teachers explain that reading and writing feel like punishment to him and that he never pays attention in class. Hearing all this, the principal warns that if things don't improve, she won't be able to help Ishan. She also suggests that he might have an intellectual disability and advises his parents to consider a special school for him. When they return home, Nan Keshore decides to send Ishan to a boarding school, believing it will make him disciplined. Maya tries to change his mind, not wanting to be separated from her son, but he is firm in his decision. Despite Ishan's pleas to stay with his family, his father remains resolute. The following week, Ishan is taken to his new school. On the way home, Maya cries over separating from her youngest son, while Yohain tries to comfort her. Meanwhile, Ishan feels abandoned and rejected by his family. At dinner, he can barely eat as he tries to make sense of what's happening. Later, Maya finds one of his drawing notebooks, where he depicts the moment he was separated from his family. Seeing this, she questions again if she made the right choice in sending him to boarding school. On the first day of class, Ishan's teacher seats him at the front desk beside Rajan, the top student, hoping Rajan's influence will encourage Ishan to be diligent too. Later, in our class, Ishan becomes distracted by birds outside the window, and Holker throws a piece of chalk at him. Holker then orders Ishan to use a ruler to slap his own hand 5 times as punishment for not paying attention. In English class, Ishan struggles again. As Professor Sun explains the lesson, the words on the board start to jumble, leaving Ishan feeling inferior to his classmates for not being able to keep up. The boy hears his teachers call him dumb, lazy, and stupid so many times that he starts to believe it. His imagination, once filled with space adventures, now creates terrifying monsters that haunt him. Gradually, the cheerful, spirited boy turns into an apathetic, depressed, and frightened child. When his parents come to take him home for the weekend, Ishan can only cry and run around in desperation. At home, his brother Johan gives him a set of 24 paint colors, knowing Ishan loves to paint, but even that doesn't lift his spirits. On Sunday evening, when his parents return him to boarding school, Ishan feels deeply sad, but has no more tears to shed. All his feelings have left him, leaving only emptiness and indifference. The next morning, his friend Rajan finds him hanging from a ledge and is terrified. Rajan tells him to come down, and after a moment, he falls to the ground. Ishan comes down to help him, and Rajan tells him that Holker has been transferred to another school and a new teacher has arrived to replace him. As the students gather in the room, waiting for their new teacher, they hear a flute sound and start looking around to find its source. Suddenly, a man dressed as a clown bursts into the room, performing acrobatics and singing. The students get excited and join in, interacting with him. Even Rajan, with a broken leg, tries to dance along. However, Ishan keeps his head down and shows no reaction. After the show, Professor Ram hands each student a blank sheet of paper and asks them to draw or paint whatever they like. A few minutes later, he checks on their progress and notices that Ishan hasn't started. Ram doesn't push him, reassuring him that he can take his time. But as the class ends, all the students have finished their paintings, except for Ishan. Ram's reaction is different from other teachers. Instead of getting angry, he feels worried for Ishan. That evening, Ishan receives a phone call from his mother. The woman tells him she can't pick him up next Saturday because Yohain will be playing in the tennis tournament final. She tries to apologize, but the boy leaves the phone on the table and walks away. The next day during recess, Ram asks Rajan where his friend is. Rajan says he doesn't know and mentions that Ishan isn't happy at that school. He explains that even though Ishan tries hard, he still can't read or write. Ishan is always grounded, and his notebooks are covered in red marks. Hearing this, Ram goes to Ishan's locker to look at his notebooks and confirms that Ishan makes many spelling mistakes. But he notices something else that no one else had seen. After finishing his classes at the boarding school, Ram goes to his other job teaching special needs children. On that day, he feels unusually emotional. Jabin, his co-worker, sits next to him and asks why. With tears in his eyes, Ram says that after so many years, he's finally seeing himself in one of his students. The man looks into Ishan's eyes and realizes the boy needs help, so he decides to visit his parents. When he arrives, Maya greets him and invites him in after he introduces himself. While going through Ishan's old notebooks, Ram finds a drawing and is amazed to see that the boy can paint. Maya shows him more of her son's artwork, and Ram studies them carefully. Eventually, he finds a notebook with a drawing of the moment Ishan was separated from his family, and he's struck by the boy's sensitivity and creativity. Ram asks the couple why they sent Ishan to boarding school, and Nangshore explains it was their only option after Ishan repeated a grade and made no effort to improve in his studies. Ram then asks if they've noticed any pattern in Ishan's mistakes. They admit they haven't, so Ram points out markings from other teachers in the notebooks, showing them how Ishan confuses similar letters, writing them backwards, which makes them mirrored and hard to understand. Ram explains that Ishan struggles to recognize letters, which makes reading and writing difficult for him. Nankeshwar dismisses this, claiming it's just an excuse to avoid studying. To prove his point, Ram shows Nankeshwar a box with words written in Chinese and asks him to read them. Nankeshwar says he can't read those symbols because he doesn't know them, but Ram insists he should try. When Nankeshwar repeats that he cannot read, Ram accuses him of misbehavior and says he isn't trying hard enough. At that moment, Nankeshwar realizes how he has treated his son over the years. Ram then explains that Ishan's reading and writing difficulties are called dyslexia, but this does not mean the boy is stupid. In fact, Ishan's mind is sharper and more vivid than that of many adults. His talent is clear in his drawings. However, Nankeshwar remains unhappy because he focuses on Ishan's inability to be first in class or excel in sports instead of appreciating his son's great talent. Frustrated, Ram leaves and, with Maya's permission, takes the boy's notebook. The next day, before class starts, he shows Ishan his drawing to grab the boy's attention. He then tells the whole class the story of a boy who struggled to read and write no matter how hard he tried. Words were his enemy. They danced in front of his eyes and scared him. Everyone made fun of him and called him lazy, until one day he turned around and presented a theory that changed the world. At the end of the story, Ram asks the students if they know who this boy is, startling Ishan, who thinks the teacher is talking about him. However, he is surprised when Ram shows him a picture of Albert Einstein, the genius who revolutionized science with his theory of relativity. After that, Ram shows the students a painting and asks what they see. They all answer that it is a drawing of a helicopter. Ram then reveals that Leonardo da Vinci created that drawing 400 years before the first airplane existed. He also tells them that Leonardo da Vinci had great difficulty writing and shows how the painter wrote in the painting. At the end of the sentence, no one understood anything until Ram used a mirror to reflect the writing correctly, which made the students even more excited. Then, he asked Ishan to turn on the light and inquired who lit up the world with electricity. Ishan quickly replied that it was Thomas Edison. After congratulating him, the teacher noted that Edison also struggled with reading. After introducing these amazing figures, Ram explained to the students that many hidden gems among them could change history by seeing the world differently. In that class, the teacher suggested they create something unique. The idea was to collect materials and objects found in the trash and turn them into something special. The teacher asked the students to gather by the lake and said he wanted to speak to Ishan privately when everyone left the room. Ram shared with Ishan that he also had difficulty learning as a child, and his father did not understand him. His father thought Ram was lazy and unwilling to study, but Ram overcame his challenges and was now teaching other children. Later, at the edge of the lake while the other boys played, Ishan used old materials to create something new. With some twigs and pieces of wood, he made a boat that could move on its own in the water. His teacher felt proud, and after class, he took the boat home as a souvenir. The next morning, Ram went to the principal's office to talk about one of his students. When he mentioned Ishan, the principal braced himself for another complaint, as other teachers had also spoken poorly of the boy. However, to his surprise, Ram said that Ishan was extremely intelligent. His only struggle was with reading and writing due to dyslexia. After explaining the learning disorder in detail, the teacher showed the principal some of Ishan's paintings and asked for a chance to help him. He suggested that the other teachers initially ignore Ishan's spelling mistakes and assess him orally. Meanwhile, Ram would help him improve his reading and writing skills. The principal agreed to the idea, and Ram began giving private lessons to the boy. First, Ishan did some creative spelling exercises that spark his imagination. Once he can recite the entire alphabet correctly, he practices writing and pronouncing words. Within a few weeks, Ishan reads easily and accurately. His math skills also improve, and he stops confusing numbers. As the school year nears its end, Ram decides to organize an art competition for all students and teachers to celebrate. While Ram teaches another class, Nankeshwar arrives and asks to speak with him. In the teacher's office, Nankeshwar explains that his wife researched dyslexia online. Ram wonders why he is sharing this information and Nan Keshor clarifies that he doesn't want Ram to think they don't care about their younger son. Ram responds that affection is essential and can heal a troubled soul. He emphasizes that loving gestures and words make a child feel valued. He believes the most important factor in a child's development is knowing that their parents will support them, even if they fail. This support allows the child to feel secure and develop self-love. Nan Keshor, taken aback, stands up to leave. Before he goes, Ram asks if his wife has read about the Solomon Islands. There, when natives want to clear part of the forest for farming, they don't cut down trees. Instead, they gather around them and shout until they can't anymore. They curse the trees with their words, and within days, the trees wither and die. Shocked by Ram's words, Nan Keshor leaves. On his way out, he sees his son, Ishan, reading the poster about the art contest. Nan Keshor feels a wave of guilt and doesn't approach him. The next morning, before sunrise, Ishan wakes up and prepares for the day. While his classmates are still asleep, he leaves his room and goes to the lake to watch the sunrise. A few hours later, the students gather in the amphitheater for the competition, with the principal and his wife also attending the event. Ram asks Rajan where Ishan is, but Rajan replies that Ishan left before the other students woke up. This worries Ram, but he can't leave the other children to search for Ishan, so he decides to wait. Soon, the other teachers arrive for the contest and are surprised to see caricatures of themselves drawn by the students. A few minutes later, Lalitha Lajmi, Ram's teacher, arrives and announces that she will be the judge for the winning painting. The competition begins, and everyone prepares to do their best. Hours pass, and Ram grows more anxious about Ishan's absence. To his relief, Ishan arrives just in time to join the contest. Ram hands him a blank sheet of paper, and Ishan finds a quiet spot to create his artwork. Feeling calmer, Ram starts his painting. A little later, Ishan shows his work to Ram, who is amazed by the painting's intricate details. Ishan is surprised to see that Ram's painting captures his face with a huge smile. After a few hours, the contest concludes, and the director faces the tough task of announcing the winner. He explains that Lalitha, the special guest, had to choose between two beautiful paintings. Although the result is a tie, only one painting can be the winner for the school yearbook cover. In the end, Lalitha chooses a student over Ram, who takes second place. Everyone is eager to find out who won, and the principal announces that the winning artwork belongs to Ishan. Shy and overwhelmed, Ishan hides, but gains confidence when he sees his teacher's proud smile. He steps onto the stage, receives his certificate, and joyfully runs into Ram's arms. They embrace and cry tears of happiness together. A few days later, the students' parents arrive to take them home for vacation. When they reach the school, the principal calls Ishan's parents to his office. He proudly shows them that Ishan's painting has won the contest and will be on the cover of the school yearbook. On the back cover is Ram's painting, and the couple is surprised to see their son's face printed in one of the school books. Next, Nan Keshor and Maya go to the teacher's room to pick up Ishan's report card. They are amazed to hear about their son's excellent progress and learn that Professor Ram helped him achieve it. Before leaving, they talk to Ram, and Nan Keshor hugs him, struggling to find words to thank the teacher for transforming his son's life. Ram then says goodbye to Ishan, telling him he will miss him but will be there when Ishan returns from vacation. As the boy walks with his family to the car, he suddenly runs back into his teacher's arms. And that's how the movie ends. What did you think of this movie? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more amazing videos. See you next time.